All right, everyone. Welcome to a special podcast episode of the Oregon Bridge. And I'm joined here today with my three colleagues in a new endeavor we're excited to speak with you about today. Let's actually introduce ourselves really quickly so folks know who is on the pod. Buddy, you're on my screen right now, so introduce yourself, although folks are probably familiar with you if they listened last week.
Yeah, if you tuned into that episode, my name is Buddy Terry. I am the producer for The Bridge.
Very cool. And Kevin?
Hi, folks. Kevin Frazier here. I helped get the Wlnsvey started and thrilled to be here.
And our videoless friend, Alex.
Everybody knows me. I'm the Patriot on the
podcast. He meets our quota for Patriots. So we want to talk to you all about a rebrand that folks probably have seen if you're on social media. That's kind of launching a new project, the official combination of three different projects that we've all been working on together. So Buddy, can you explain a little bit what happened on social media today? I know you were spending many hours over the last several weeks preparing for this moment. So what was the transformation today?
Yeah, so today was the first official merger of the Way, the Bridge, with formerly the Oregon Bridge, taking the pod and all of its entities, as well as existing ones of the Way that Kevin has been building out, and presenting them under this new umbrella that is Oregon 360, and making sure all those products are distinct and identifiable for everyone, so that they can get to know them, subscribe to them, figure out which ones they really like and want, and making them, distinct.
So you're going to hear the term Oregon 360. Oregon 360 is, I think Kevin Frazier gets credit for coming up with this name. But Oregon 360 is like the umbrella designation of the products that we offer. So Oregon 360 is the big umbrella company. Then you've got the Bridge, which is our podcast, the Way, which is the op-ed page. And then you've got the Liftoff, which is our weekly newsletter. So Kevin, you actually started the Oregon Way before we started the podcast, before we started the newsletter. So how do you see this kind of alignment of the other products with your vision for what the Oregon Way was originally?
Yeah, sure thing. And I'll claim to be a Patriot as well, Alex. So we can duel about that later. But what I want to focus on is the fact
There'll be a 4-hour episode to debate that.
Here we go. Lincoln Douglas debate 2.0. No one can wait. So I think what this Oregon 360 project really synthesizes is the fact that so many of us, the folks on this podcast, grew up studying politics, talking about politics, knowing what was going on, hearing from all of these different perspectives. And that helped us become pretty strong democratic participants in a lot of different ways. And the Way provides one source of that information, this idea of you need to hear from thought leaders and to get their perspective and to know what's going on and how news is being interpreted. But that's only one slice of a pie of being a really strong democratic participant. And that's where I think the Bridge comes in by interviewing the folks who are making the news and getting a sense of what their priorities are. And then the Liftoff adds to that by saying, here's the actual facts. What's going on? What do you need to be aware of? And so only by combining all of these attributes do you get Oregon 360. And that whole picture is really powerful. And our hope is that folks who engage with Oregon 360 leave as more strong democratic participants, and that we can collectively really build this civic culture.
Yeah, I love the term civic culture because that's what we've talked about with, if you're a writer for the Oregon Way, you know that there's contributor council meetings that Kevin runs. And we had a meeting or more of a launch party with some of those folks several weeks ago where we talked about like what we're trying to build is a series of spaces and platforms where we can have conversations that aren't just in echo chambers. and that aren't just from, a totally neutral, unbiased media source presenting information. It's really like, we're not trying to be journalists necessarily. What we're trying to be is like conversation starters, facilitators, a place for us to engage in dialogue with people that we normally wouldn't. Obviously, we've cracked some jokes on this episode already about where we're coming from politically. We represent very different parts of the political spectrum. And instead of sort of like ignoring the agreements, what we want to do is be able to lean into them constructively and try to figure out, what does the future of Oregon politics look like? What could it look like? And what can we all do to make it as productive as possible? So Alex, I wanted to ask you, because I know you've got some big ideas for this. Obviously, we founded this enterprise in the middle of a pandemic, so we haven't been able to fully realize all of our ideas and visions. What do you see as some of the future offerings of Oregon 360, and what might that look like?
Yeah, and I think it goes back a little bit to just the kind of the change in how people are consuming information, at least in my perspective, in the sense of that I think a lot of people, and I think, Ben, part of what we tried to do on this podcast is they're just really over like the, here's my 3 or 4 minute media hit. I'm totally unbiased. This is coming from an expert perspective, whatever. And like, oh, we don't really have time to actually talk about or dive into things because we only have 2 or 3 minutes. And I think part of what we're trying to do is really turn that whole thing on its head. Partially through what I think are like thoughtful conversations, but then also even just creating the broader space for like these talks to be able to happen. And I know at some point we want to roll out something that we're going to call 360 conversations. And that's basically going to be interviews with different policy experts, different community leaders, different activists, folks from the business community, folks from the technology sector, and also of course from media too, really diving into some of the most pressing issues that I would say are facing our state. So I think part of it is just the platform, I don't think fully exists in the state of Oregon right now, right? There's a lot of these platforms that really focus on national issues, but we're really trying to, and obviously we talk about national issues quite a bit, but we're really trying to get that local feel, right? Of like, what is going on in Oregon and what really should people be paying attention to and what should they be caring about? And it's not like, what should people on the left be caring about or what should people on the right be caring about? It's like, here's the issues really that are the most pressing that just you should be aware of in general. So I know we're at some point going to have events that will be launched, and some of those will be public, and then some of those will also be private for our subscriber base. And Ben, maybe you can hit on that in just a second. And I know it also at some point we have the Liftoff, which is kind of what I would say encompassing the entire state right now. And we do a good job of having stories both from Salem and from Portland, but also from different parts of the states to make sure folks are getting a holistic perspective. But I think at some point we also want to have local versions of the Liftoff. So what's going on in Southern Oregon, what's going on in Central Oregon, like really diving into what's going on in Portland. So I think in general, really, really exciting things to come, and there's a lot of opportunity out there.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think that's a good transition to what I want to talk about next, which is, if you're a listener of ours or you're a reader of The Way, and you want to be involved or you want to contribute, there's a few ways that you can do that. I think what we want to be different about our platform is that we really are a platform of members, a platform of creators, a platform of people who have something to say and people who want to listen to others. So there's a few ways you can do that. Kevin, can you talk about if folks have something to say and they want to write about it, how can they get involved?
Yeah, if you really know what's going on in your neck of the woods and you want to make sure that other Oregonians know about it, send me an email, Kevin T. Frazier, Frazier @gmail.com. The thing I love about our Oregon Way contributor list is that we've had everyone from Brenda Smith down in Harney County writing about why more Oregonians need to know about the Harney County Fair and why that is a great example of building community. And then we've had wonky pieces from Alan Alley, the former GOP candidate for governor, on PERS. That is a 3-part series that you might fall asleep during, but I love. And so in between all of that level of engagement, wherever you are in Oregon, what the Oregon Way is trying to build, and what I think we're trying to build here at Oregon 360, as Alex was hitting on, was giving you that all-encompassing view of Oregon. Because in a state that has quite a few strong insiders, it's really helpful to bring in diverse perspectives from so many levels, whether that's racial, regional, political. We want to see it all so that folks can get an understanding of where the state's headed. So please reach out to me. Being a contributor is what I like to think a pretty easy gig. I work with you. We have a great time. My edits aren't too bad, and it's a collaborative process. So if you or someone you know would like to contribute, please let me know. It's really fun to create a platform for city councilors, community organizers, all that.
Yeah. And it's also a platform for, like some folks notice, one of our best read pieces has been Tobias Read, state treasurer's announcement he's running for governor. Melissa Unger, leader of statewide labor union, also wrote a piece when there was speculation that she was considering running for governor. So we do have the full spectrum. And I think our audience is a perfect audience for folks who want to, communicate with people who are super civically engaged, very aware of what's happening in Oregon, and I think influential in their communities. So the other thing I wanted to touch on was the Liftoff and how folks can be engaged there. So, we've given you the outline and you all receive it, but I think the thing that differentiates the Liftoff from a lot of the products you'll see is, like, for example, recently Alex and Reagan Knope, both very conservative folks, provided an update about what happened when Vice President Mike Pence came to Oregon and spoke to the Washington County Republicans. It's a different perspective. It's a different level of insight and analysis than you're going to get from someone who's, quote, unbiased. So what that means for us, though, is we are open to all perspectives and all backgrounds. If you've got a tip or something that you think people should know about, whether there's already a media article about it or not, feel free to reach out to us. I think the best way to do it is go to the Oregon Way and make sure you're subscribed. And at the bottom of every newsletter, there is my personal email. You can reach out to me and we can go from there. So we got a few minutes left. Buddy, what do you think the future of the podcast looks like? What opportunities will there be moving forward?
Future of the podcast. So yeah, the bridge, I mean, it's already attracting a lot of attention. We've got a long list of guests lined up. Some are academics. We're trying to engage with some universities, Oregon State, U of O, which we have some fine alumni in this conversation there. And then other, yep, and go Beavs, just to balance that one out. But yeah, no, we've seen tremendous growth, the support, even, this has been grassroots up until this point and will be for a little bit longer, as we move into the holidays and round out the year and really solidify this brand. I think we've got a lot of opportunity, especially for, new leaders, as new leaders are emerging in the political sphere or, in local Oregon politics, might know a couple of those. And, we're trying to provide that platform for them. And bridge that gap between plug that title, between the voters and the candidates.
Love it. I love it. All right. Well, so little teaser for folks. If you have been following the Willamette Week or Pamplin, I did announce that I'm running for the new House District 25. Alex Titus has assured me that he is going to interview me on this podcast and just absolutely destroy me for my, what did you call them? Communist beliefs, Titus? Is that what you said?
I'm going to endorse your opponent on the podcast. That'll be exciting.
But yeah, I think the cool thing about the four of us is we all are working on a lot of different other projects at the same time. And so I'll be running my campaign. Buddy's going to be in grad school. Kevin is going to be working on one of his 7 or 8 degrees, I think, at this point. And Alex doesn't really do anything. He just kind of sits around. Why do I pick on Alex?
Welfare state.
Alex actually
lives in a void. He can't even find the light to shine on his face.
Alex actually is
just a blank Zoom guy.
I will give Mr. Titus credit. He is the owner of a small business that he built from scratch and is now on its way to becoming very successful. So yeah, we're all doing some things on the side, and I think we all enjoy this and are looking forward to it, working together on it and hopefully building an even bigger team. So if you're interested in getting involved, reach out. We are always looking for help. We've got a team of interns who are helping us out as well that maybe you'll hear some more from as we move forward. So with that, gentlemen, any other announcements or words before we go?
Yeah, I'll chip in there. And again, shout out to the interns as they will be helping facilitate some of these endeavors, pushing this stuff out. Where you can find this stuff, there's the Substack, there's Instagram, Twitter, there's Tumblr for all you hipsters out there that are still on that platform. And then the big one is going to be obviously YouTube, where you can actually watch these conversations go down instead of listening to them, which are available wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple, tune in, any of those.
And I just want to flag an exciting partnership between The Way and KATU, which you may have heard of. We are working on the hashtag Governor Goals campaign. So get ready for that come 2022, where we'll have everyone from students at Beaverton High School to current state representatives telling candidates for governor what they need to know about things like affordable housing, climate change, water access, early childhood education. So let's make sure that the next governor hits the ground running with some really explicit ideas about how to move the state forward.
Love that. That's so cool. That's so if you for those of you who don't know KTU, it's a Portland news channel. So very cool. We'll have an even bigger platform. And then I think the final word before we go is, if you listen to this podcast, if you read the newsletter, if you subscribe to the Oregon Way, the best and easiest thing you can do to support what we're trying to build and help us have the capacity to do more and create the 360 conversations and some events and these projects with other media companies is become a subscriber. It's just $10 a month to become a subscriber, or you can buy annually access you'll save a little bit of money. Or if you're really generous, you can become a founding member for, I think, $360. So that would be very appreciated from all of us, and it will help us quickly grow and reach more people and offer more cool things. At some point, we are going to put up what they call a paywall, which basically means some of our content will eventually be something that you have to be a member to access. Of course, we will accommodate folks who have a financial barrier to accessing that. But if you can't afford it, we would love for you to support what we're doing and become a subscriber. All you have to do is go on the Oregon Way and click subscribe, and it's pretty easy from there. So with that, thank you all so much again for listening. We'll be back next week with the regular podcast format with very cool guests from the Oregon Values and Beliefs Center to talk about what Oregonians believe in terms of public polling, what we know. And yeah, we'll see you down the trail. Thanks, everyone.